Divine Indifference. By Orthoris. Chapter 27. Tree of Harmony. You know, I still haven't forgiven you for giving me that stupid title, Atlas said, annoyed at yet another noble that had stopped to bow as they passed. They were strolling through the halls of the palace, making their way towards the kitchen for a late afternoon snack. It has been 10 years, Celestia rolled her eyes. And yet you still bring it up every single time we see each other. And I plan to continue doing it, Atlas said proudly. After all, it's weird that ponies bow to me of all people. I mean, I don't even do anything around here. I'm more akin to a ghost that lives here than an actual noble of high standing. As I've told you every time before, you deserve the title and there's nothing you can do to get it revoked, Celestia commented. It comes with a lot of benefits, does it not? I'll admit that it does, especially the land that comes with it, Atlas nodded sagely. Doesn't mean I have to like it. They passed a pair of guards that stood at attention as soon as they spotted them, which Atlas let slide by telling himself that they were doing it because he was with the princess. Over the past years the palace had never really stopped evolving. While the outer shell might have been completed, the interior was subject to a never-ending change of art pieces, carpets, and just about every other possible decoration. I still don't understand why you specifically wanted the mountain range to the east. As far as we know they harbor no precious minerals, nor are they suited for agriculture or development, Celestia mumbled. I need it for reasons, Atlas said. Which I've told you at least as many times as you told me that I can't forfeit my title. Well, I'm used to you being mysterious and all, but that seems even more nonsensical than whatever star swirl and you usually think up in that cave of yours. We work in mysterious ways, Atlas chuckled. Which reminds me, we're just about ready to set up our newest invention. Have the caves beneath the castle been cleared out? Just like you ask, yes, Celestia sighed. And every pony has been informed that they are supposed to stay away from there. Are you finally going to tell us just what it is you're setting up down there? I will once we're done, Atlas said. Just know that it's vital to the continued existence of this country of yours. You know I trust you when you say things like that, Celestia said. But Luna and I really wished that you'd be more open about whatever you're doing. I'm not gonna betray you or anything, Atlas assured her. Don't worry. I'm more worried about one of your experiments blowing up the whole castle than you betraying us, to be honest. That might happen. What? Celestia squawked, grinding to a halt and fixating her best angry glare on Atlas. I knew that you're working on very volatile things, but you assured me that you take every possible security measure to ensure our safety. Don't yell at your father like that, young miss, Atlas shook his head. And we really do, but what we're setting up tomorrow will be a bit special. There's really no telling what may happen. You're not my real father, as your princess I can yell all I want. I'm also putting a lot of trust in you here, you better make sure that everything goes well and the palace is in one piece after tomorrow. Celestia said with some hidden anger in her voice. You wound me, Celestia, Atlas said, masking his hurt feelings with a flippant display of mock hurt. I'll promise you right now that nothing will go wrong tomorrow and the palace will totally not blow up, Atlas mentally crossed his fingers behind his back. Even if it blows up, I doubt any of us will still be around to apologize, Atlas mumbled after. All right then, Celestia gave in. Just make sure, all right. Star Swirl and I researched this thing for 10 years now and went through at least a bazillion iterations before finalizing it, Atlas huffed. We're sure it'll work. We think. Well, you're not inspiring a lot of confidence when you end your sentences like that, Celestia said as she magicked open the door to their private dining room. A maid already stood at the ready next to the table, politely bowing once they entered. They placed their orders with her and she disappeared through a side door that led into the kitchen. I swear, it's creepy how they always know what you want without even asking you. I mean, how did she know we were coming? We haven't told Annaponi that we're coming here, right? Atlas said while sitting down. You don't think she just stands here all day, hoping that we'll walk in, right? Our servants have their eyes and ears everywhere, and information travels fast within the castle, Celestia explained. I'm sure someone overheard us and sent someone ahead to wait here. This palace you talk of doesn't sound like a safe place to keep important documents pertaining the future of Equestria, Atlas said with a smirk. Our servants are most loyal and would never do something like that, Celestia huffed. Yeah, I'll be sure to have a giant "I told you so" sign at the ready for when some of them mysteriously disappear. Oh, shush. You know that I keep the important stuff secured with some of the spells you taught me, so if anything happens to them I'll just blame you, Celestia retaliated. Atlas smiled at the casual banter they shared. It really signified to him just how grown up she had become, as something like this would have been unthinkable 10 years ago. Compared to Luna, Celestia had always been the more reserved one, but recently she had really grown into her role as a princess. While Luna had other problems to deal with, she was becoming a fine ruler as well. It was becoming clear that they weren't relying on him anymore and had become independent. Combined with the fact that he was about to complete his project with Star Swirl, which was essentially the last piece to the puzzle called Equestria, it appeared that the time to leave had finally come for Atlas. I'll let you know that my spells don't fail, Atlas said, just as the maid returned and set their orders out before them. If someone manages to nab one of those documents, they were either a really advanced magician or you messed up the spell. Well, let's hope our potential infiltrators aren't that talented, Celestia said, her recently acquired poker face betraying her as she nervously looked around for a second. Whatever, just don't come crying to me, Atlas chuckled. Anyway, I'll probably come and get you two sometime tomorrow evening, be sure to keep a free spot in your schedule and tell Luna as well. What I have to show you is important. I'll be sure to do that, Celestia sighed. I know I can't get any answers out of you, even if I tried, so what is one more day of waiting? Good, now with the important stuff out of the way, let's dig in. Atlas concluded, just before ravenously digging into his cheese omelette. All right, that's the last piece. I think, Atlas said, gently setting down a chunk of crystallized mana on the floor, next to a plethora of similar-looking pieces. They were in a cave beneath the castle of the two sisters. Although calling it a cave might have been a long shot, as it was just a small pocket in the side of a cliff wall. They'd built a staircase right into the side of said cliff that led all the way to the bottom, ending right at the entrance to the cave. It was exactly as Atlas remembered from the show. The ground was littered with the blue mana crystals of all shapes and sizes, the culmination of 10 years of research. Don't think, Star Swirl said roughly, a clipboard hovering in front of him. No. Well, you're the one with the checklist, so you tell me, Atlas snarked back. We've been spending the last 10 years perfecting this insane project of yours and you mean to tell me that you don't know this thing inside and out by now? Star Swirl asked with a raised eyebrow. Considering that we failed so many times now and that we've gone through at least 69 different iterations with every single one of them consisting of a different amount of parts, yes, I might get a bit confused sometimes, Atlas replied. So, do we have everything or not, O Lord of the Clipboard? We do, Star Swirl said. But that's beside the point. You know just as well as I do that this can still go horribly wrong, so I need you here 100%. That's why we meticulously wrote everything down, isn't it? Atlas sighed. Also, why are you acting like you're in charge? This is my baby. Because if you were to take helm here, you'd probably rush it and make a mistake somewhere. While I can't deny the possibility, Atlas said while squinting at Star Swirl. You know that I am serious about this, right? I'd be worried if you weren't, Star Swirl replied, checking the final thing on their checklist. Just let me organize this. You focus on the assembly. Okay, Atlas relented. Did you set up all the defensive wards? Of course, another check on the list. Made sure all of the needed blueprints and checklists are here. Ahoy, check. All the necessary tools are gathered. Naturally, check. Wrote your last will in case we fuck this up. I'm not sure either of us will need one of those anytime soon, even if we make a mistake, Star Swirl deadpanned. Then I guess we're all set up and ready to go, Atlas said, mentally rolling up his non-existential sleeves. You ready to assemble this IKEA-looking piece of shit? I have no idea what an IKEA is, Star Swirl said, switching his checklist for another one. But I guess I'm as ready as I'll ever be. Let's bust out the magical super glue, then, Atlas chuckled. There better not be any screws missing. You okay there, Luna? Atlas asked as he descended the stairs towards the cave together with Celestia and Luna, the latter looking like she could fall asleep at any given moment. Wouldn't want you to fall off. It's just a tad early for me to be up, Luna yawned in a very unprincess-like fashion. This had better be good. I still don't understand why you have to hold court in the middle of the night, Atlas commented. Just seems kind of nonsensical to me. I am the guardian of the night after all, Luna said. Yeah, but don't most ponies sleep during the night? I seriously doubt you're seeing too much traffic during your hours, Atlas said, bringing up his favorite topic when talking with Luna. I must admit that the turnover isn't very big. But at least it gives me time to do other work, Luna said, another yawn escaping her. I can help my sister out as well by filling out paperwork. Well, maybe you should take to actually guarding your ponies during the night, Atlas suggested. You could practice dream walking so you can shield the minds of your subjects from nightmares. Is that even possible? Celestia asked, having been quietly overhearing the two's interaction. I thought that dream walking was extremely difficult and required vast amounts of mana. It does, Atlas confirmed. But you forget that you guys are probably the most magical thing on this entire planet. If anyone can pull this off, it's you two. Or well, maybe just Luna. The spell takes careful casting, unlike the brute force that you tend to use, Celestia. Haha, Celestia deadpanned. Do not grieve, sister, Luna chuckled. I'm sure you'll find something you're good at someday. Anyway, Atlas said, stopping their bickering before it even began. We're here. What do you mean, we're here? Celestia asked, looking around. There's nothing here, just the cliff wall and a lot of dirt. That's because the cave is hidden by a ward, Atlas said, rolling his eyes. One would think that after spending all of your youth in a cave protected by this very ward that you'd be able to recognize the tells when you see it, or at the very least feel the magic in the air. Yes, sister, Luna smirked, walking straight into the wall and disappearing into it. You should study more. I don't like it when she acts like this, Celestia said with squinted eyes, trying to perceive the barrier in front of her. You've got other things you're good at, Celestia, Atlas reassured her. Your magical knowledge is very impressive as well, it just so happens that this is the one thing Luna is leaps and bounds ahead of you. Just let her have this. Atlas walked into the cave as well, Celestia hot on his heels, almost bumping into Luna who was waiting just beyond the border. What? What is this? Luna asked, fascination apparent in her voice. That, my dear sister, Celestia added, staring straight ahead. Is a very good question. Well, putting it into extremely simple terms, Star Swirl said, coming out from behind the object of interest. It's a charging station. Good evening, princesses, he added, bowing his head low. Standing at the back of the cave was the finally completed charging station for the mana batteries, also known as the Tree of Harmony. It stood at a good 16 feet tall and was entirely made out of blue mana crystal. A total of 11 jagged branches ran out of the center, making it almost look like a depiction of the sun. 5 of the branches contained a socket for one of the mana batteries each, as well as one more where all the branches converged at the trunk. Each of the branches were hung with garlands, consisting of several smaller batteries tied to a string, made out of mana crystal as well. Are these our cutie marks? Celestia asked, pointing out the shapes carved into the trunk towards the bottom. That, they are, Atlas answered with a nod. Why? Luna asked confused. Because you could call this tree a present to the both of you, if you will, Atlas said with a smile. Surprise! Well, that would be the most impressive gift I've ever received, Celestia said. And probably ever will. But, pardon me asking, what is it? Something I'm very curious about as well, Luna added. Is that whole tree made out of monocrystal? Yes, it is, Star Swirl confirmed, causing the sisters' jaws to drop simultaneously. And it's covered in more runes than you could count. Do we have to worry about this thing blowing up the entire planet? Luna asked, knowing perfectly well just how powerful even one small mana battery could be. No, Atlas replied. Well, maybe a little bit, he smiled sheepishly as both of the sisters' heads snapped towards him to stare him down. I mean, the potential is there. But in order for that to happen you'd have to really want it to do that, and I doubt either of you would want that. We don't, Celestia and Luna said at the same time. See? No problem to be found here, Atlas said, nonchalantly carrying on. What if some pony else gets their hooves on this? Celestia said worried. Some pony evil. Even if they did, which I seriously doubt, considering how protected this place is, Atlas said. To make this thing go unstable and volatile would require a vast amount of mana, control, and the knowledge to deactivate just around 600 safety spells and fail-safes, as well as possessing the magical signature of one of the four of us present here. That seems a bit excessive, Luna said. Can you really go too far when you're protecting something that could end the life of an entire planet? Star Swirl said, eyebrow cocked to the max. I guess not, Celestia said. There's also nothing stupid like a 2-meter wide exhaust port or anything like that, Atlas said. We made sure of that. Celestia and Luna looked to Star Swirl for an explanation, who just shrugged. Long used to their father's odd references, they did the same, letting it slide without prying. Okay, now that we made sure that it's safe, can we go back to the first question? Luna asked. Just what is it? As Star Swirl already summed up accurately, it's a charging station for the mana batteries, which you should already be familiar with, Atlas began to explain. We've renamed them into the Elements of Harmony, by the way. Elements of Harmony? Celestia asked confused. Why? 2 reasons mostly, Star Swirl jumped on the question. The batteries are incredibly powerful artifacts, that are surprisingly easy to make if you know how. I think we all see how dangerous it would be to mass-produce them, should some pony get wind of this. Thus we decided to spin a false tale around them, making them seem ancient, mysterious, one of a kind, and, most importantly, impossible to recreate. That is surprisingly logical, Celestia commented. What is the second reason? Showboating, Atlas deadpanned. Every pony loves a good story, and having an all-powerful weapon called the Elements of Harmony protecting the country will solidify the idea of harmony across the country even more, since harmony is the most powerful magic of all and whatnot. So it's like an elaborate ruse. Pretty much. This is surprisingly well thought out, Celestia said. We worked on this for 10 years, Celestia, Atlas sighed. It would be embarrassing if it wasn't. True enough, Celestia admitted. So, if this is such an all-powerful device, why can't I feel any magic radiating out from it? We haven't turned it on yet, Atlas shrugged. We thought it would be nice for you to be present for this last step. Do you require any help? Luna asked, obviously eager to know more about this wonder of magical engineering. Because I'd be totally down to help you out right now. The last thing left to do is put the batteries, or rather, the elements into their respective sockets, Atlas explained. You two can do the honors, if you'd like. Atlas levitated a plain wooden box over to the sisters, which had been sitting unnoticed to the side up until now. He opened it up, revealing the 6 elements sitting on a cushion in all their softly glowing glory. "I'd love to," Luna immediately replied, looking to her sister for her opinion. "You just go ahead, I'm content with just watching," Celestia answered with a smile, causing Luna to let out a happy squeak. "All right, each of the elements has a very specific socket it needs to go into, or else the whole thing won't work," Atlas explained while approaching the tree together with Luna. "I'll guide you through it." With Atlas's help, Luna gingerly floated up the first element and inserted it into its socket. It almost looked as if the element was sucked into the socket by a strong magnet, producing a loud clang. The process was repeated for the other elements until only one was left, the element of magic. "Now, carefully insert it into the socket in the trunk and the whole thing will come to life," Atlas said, his excitement starting to show as well. Star Swirl was nervously watching the whole procedure, while Celestia couldn't help but get infected by the atmosphere and become giddy as well. She was about to witness history being written, after all. Granted, it was secret history, but looking forward, probably one of the most important events in Equestria, if Atlas could be believed. Luna respectfully lifted the purple element from the cushion, letting it gently float upwards until it aligned with the socket. She brought it closer ever so slowly, making sure to aim it exactly, leaving no room for error, until finally, the magical pull took hold and completed the process for her. Immediately after the final element was inserted, a bright flash occurred, causing every pony present to shield their eyes. Celestia let out a surprised yelp, even if she would never admit it after the fact. Just as fast as it came, the bright light started to dim, leaving the ponies present to rapidly blink as their eyes struggled to adjust to such quick fluctuations. Being able to see once again, 4 sets of eyes eagerly looked at the Tree of Harmony. The whole tree was alight, with a similar glow as the elements possessed, filling the cavern with a softly rolling blue light. The elements themselves were glowing brighter than ever, mixing in their colors and reflecting off the smaller batteries hanging off the branches to create a mythical light show. "It's beautiful," Celestia said slowly. "Yes," Atlas replied, gaping at the display before him, almost moved to tears, having finally completed this project. "I can feel the power flowing through me, even from this far away," Star Swirl remarked on the odd sensation they were all feeling. "It feels like I'm being massaged from the inside out, and my mana pool has been refilled in an instant." "Don't make this weird, Star Swirl," Atlas said. "But I must admit that it kind of feels like that, yet. Won't they be able to feel this in the castle?" Luna asked, astounded. "There are wards in place, preventing any mana from leaking out of the cave," Star Swirl replied. "Casted by yours truly, and now maintained by the tree itself, just as every other spell that has been woven to protect it." "You said earlier that this was a present to us," Celestia remarked. "But just what are we supposed to do with this?" "I do find myself wondering the same," Luna asked. "This seems like a lot of power to just have sitting around in our backyard for no reason at all." "I guess it's time for some answers," Atlas sighed. "Come on, gather around. Star Swirl, you might want to hear this too." "Oh ho, so you're still keeping secrets that I don't know of?" Star Swirl chuckled, coming over to sit next to the sisters, which had already sat down in front of the 3 and Atlas. "More than you can possibly imagine," Atlas winced. "And more than I'd like to, honestly." "I'm sure you have your reasons," Star Swirl said. "So far it seems to have worked out well for all of us, so I say go ahead and continue." "Thank you for understanding," Atlas smiled. "But let's continue. What I'm about to tell you is incredibly important, so listen carefully, alright?" Celestia and Luna's face went serious. They installed their royal poker face, as they always did when discussing important matters, while Star Swirl just looked around in amusement. "I have a lot of knowledge pertaining to Equestria's future, as you already know," Atlas began explaining. "And I've been using that knowledge to steer everything towards that future at all costs. I've sacrificed a lot to get to this point." He shot Star Swirl a look, who returned a knowing nod, and I'll sacrifice many more things before we arrive at this future. Is there no other way? Luna asked, hating to see her father's pained face. Is there nothing we can do? There might be, Atlas sighed. But I'd rather take the path that I know will work 100%, instead of risking it all on a gamble, even if I have to sacrifice everything. There's too much at stake, and I, or we, only get one shot at this. Just what is it that is at stake? Celestia asked, worried, yet still curious at the same time. I think you're better off not knowing, Atlas smiled apologetically. It'll let you sleep better at night. All right then, Celestia sighed. Although I'd really rather just know, instead of being left in the dark like this. You could call this one giant, elaborate game of chess, and I'm but one of the pieces, Atlas said cryptically. And I'm playing my own game on the side, where you not knowing too much is one of my pieces. I might not be able to win if it is missing. I shudder at the prospect of a game where some pony like you is a mere piece on the board, Celestia commented. Considering how much influence you've had up until now. Know that I'm shuddering just as much when I think about it, Atlas said. There's powers out there you wouldn't be able to comprehend. Atlas made a dramatic pause to let the facts sink in, each of the present ponies reacting differently to the revelation. Star Swirl seemed the most composed, oddly enough, considering Luna and Celestia were wearing stone masks right now, albeit with a few cracks already forming. Which brings me to the reason we made this thing, Atlas gestured behind him, at the Tree of Harmony. In the future, there will be those that will oppose Equestria as a country, or even you personally. Incredibly powerful beings will assault Equestria and everything it stands for, with only you two standing between them and their goals. You will need to train your combat abilities, for they will not allow you to talk your way out of it. You will need power to fight them with, which you already have with your alicorn magic and strength, as well as your connection to the sun and moon respectively. But there will be those that are even more powerful still. Just like, Atlas paused for a moment. Discord, for example. And that's where the elements of harmony come in. You have already used them once, and you will have to use them again at some point. They will support you with the necessary power to vanquish those that would destroy Equestria, if given the chance, and they will at the same time become a beacon of hope for your citizens. Although I must ask you to only use them as a last resort. Only use them when everything else didn't work and they are your only way out. There's something I have to do, which will require a vast amount of magic, more than you could ever imagine, and this will be an invaluable source. Use it if you have to, but I'd be grateful for every ounce of mana that will be stored inside the tree, once I have the need for it. That is a lot to take in, Celestia said. But if what you speak is true, then having the elements will be an incredibly useful boon to have. That, it is, Luna commented. But tell me, Father, why do you tell us all of this as if you aren't a part of what is about to unfold? Because I won't be, Atlas revealed. Which brings me to my last announcement. In exactly 1 week's time I will leave Equestria. What? 3 voices ask simultaneously, shock apparent on all of their faces. But why would you have to just up and leave like this? Luna asked desperately. Didn't you promise to be with us forever and help us out in any way you could? I did, Atlas nodded. And I will. Eternity is a long time, my dear daughter, it just so happens that I have a colossal task in front of me, which I'll have to complete on my own. It'll just be a tad more than 1,000 years or so until we'll be reunited, and if everything goes well, I won't have to leave ever again. A little more than 1,000 years. Celestia asked worriedly. That's not exactly a short amount of time. Just what is it you have to do, that would take this much time? Yet, what she said. Luna called out. 1,000 years is a long time, even if you are immortal. Can't you at the very least visit? I'm afraid not, as my task will require my utmost devotion to ensure it succeeds, Atlas replied with a sad smile. Could I accompany you in that case? Star Swirl asked. Whatever it is, I'm sure I could iron out some of your quirks and help you out a great deal. I fail to see how you'd be able to help him for 1,000 years, Celestia said with a raised eyebrow. Oh right, I think I forgot to mention this, Atlas chuckled. But Star Swirl is kind of immortal as well, although in a completely different kind of way than you two or myself. Hi, I'm Star Swirl and I have been robbed of my time, rendering me unable to age. Star Swirl waved at the sisters. Pleased to meet you. This is all getting a bit too much for me, Celestia said, having trouble keeping up with all the crazy revelations that just happened. I'll just roll with it, I guess. To answer your question, Star Swirl, no. You can't come with me, Atlas answered. Any particular reason? You're kind of one of my pieces as well, Atlas smiled sheepishly. I need you to be around here, and if it isn't too much to ask for, take care of Celestia and Luna for me while I'm gone. Oh ho, that's news to me, Star Swirl said. You're not about to tell me that my little issue was part of your plan as well, are you? You know just as much as I do that that was an accident, Atlas said. I might be manipulating things in my favor, but not even I can predict everything. It was just a happy little accident, I guess, he added with a shrug. I'll believe you, I guess, Star Swirl replied with a shrug in kind. But yeah, if you need me here, then I'll guess I'll stay and help out. Thanks Star Swirl, Atlas said relieved. And now, with Star Swirl agreeing to stay here and the Tree of Harmony finished, I've set all of my pieces onto the board. Won't you be unable to play your little game if you're not around? Luna pouted. Oh, I won't be the one that's playing this game, Atlas said. I just took care of the setup. Really now? Luna asked. Then who will be playing it then? You two, Atlas pointed at the two sisters. You can consider yourself to be the king on my board. If you two are lost, we all lose. Just know that if one of you should go missing, that won't count as a defeat, as long as you return in time for the finale. He shot a meaningful look towards the sisters, which looked at each other in confusion. I take it one of us will actually not be around for a while? Celestia asked confused. Possibly, Atlas answered cryptically. I just want you to not give up hope, should this come to pass. Oh, and one more thing, Atlas said suddenly. You should consider giving your old foes a second chance at some point. Who knows, maybe they will see the light and actually help you. You said you had already placed all of your pieces, Celestia commented. But why do I feel like this is some oddly specific advice we're getting right now? Who knows? Atlas chuckled. But hey, I don't know about you guys, but I'm famished. We've been working on this tree here almost all day with nary a break. What would you say we continue this discussion over a nice, hot meal fresh out of the best kitchen in all of Equestria? I could use a break to try and make sense of everything we've just learned, Celestia replied, getting up from the ground. Just know that I'll try and talk you out of leaving, Luna said, giving Atlas the stink eye. Now that you mention it, I am pretty hungry, Star Swirl said, getting ready to leave the cave. All right then, let's go, Atlas nodded. Man, in times like these, I really miss pizza. I might have to try and teach the chefs how to make it before I leave. Atlas left through the illusionary wall, leaving behind 3 ponies that were considering their lives in general at this very moment. They stood there for a few moments, after Atlas went out of sight, taking some time to get back to a normal mindset. Any pony know what pizza is? No. Not even in the slightest. Author's note. He did the thing. Also, surprise big ass time skip. I already said it on my Alicorn of Music story, but I found a replacement for Azrael, so, thanks to my editor Scudalo FTW, as well as my proofreaders Kilobytes and Soren Mercer. Today's chapter was brought to you by this song. Come join us in the Discord channel. Lonk. Or the official Divine Entertainment group. Divine Universe. End author's note. End chapter 27. Tree of Harmony.